Hi, my name is Mina Rickey,
And I am Lydia Korjak.
and this is Decode REI,
Discover your perfect real estate investment match with Decode REI.
your matchmaker in the world of real estate.
Let us find your investment soulmate and make your heart and wallet happy. So today we have a special guest, Mina Rickey.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, something different today. And the reason for that is I had a lot of people ask me, Lydia, who is Mina? Why Mina? So Mina, I'm going to start with you. Can you tell us who you are, where you from, from culturally, and also your background professionally?
Absolutely, Lydia, thank you. She came to me and said, we're going to talk about you. I'm like, I'm prepared. But listen, I was born in Mexico in 1983 in a small town. My both parents are doctors, and they were the only doctors in the town where I grew up. So they were kind of a big fish in a tiny little tank. Forever, I thought we were doing super well because, well, we were comfortable. We had a cook in the house. We had a cleaning lady in the house. So we had a very comfortable life. Now, when I left home and when I was 18, I went to a bigger city to study college, and I studied languages, English, French, and Japanese. And, and I realized that my world, my upbringing was kind of small, plain, because it was a tiny little town. We didn't have movie theaters. We didn't have a street light. We didn't have so many things of this world. And that's where I grew up. Anyways, I went to college to a city called Guanajuato, and that is a colonial, very Spanish looking city. It has buildings that are 400, 300 years old, huge, thick. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. And I started taking languages classes. And then I thought, well, what am I going to do with this? And I thought, well, maybe I can be an English teacher. So I went into the major, which is a bachelor's degree on teaching English as a second language. And there I met a lot of Americans. They will go to that part of my country of Mexico, and they will study the major there because it was a lot cheaper. And that university was Sisters University with a university in Oregon. So they could actually come back to the States and work as English teachers, and they have their, title and all of that, their certificates and all of that available to use here in the States. So I met a lot of Americans, and that's when I realized that my English needed a lot of work. So I thought, okay, now I need to go to the States. And fortunately, I had family. My cousin Tita in Dallas received me, and I stayed at her house. The problem was that nobody spoke English at home. They were all bilingual, but at home, it was like the rule for the kids to learn both languages. So they will always speak Spanish. And I was like, okay, that's great. I speak more Spanish here in Dallas, Texas than back home. So anyways, I found a job and I was doing well. I really liked it, but it wasn't enough. So I found another job as a salesperson and actually selling English courses. And somebody saw me doing really well with this. And that person invited me to do the Houston rodeo as a cashier. And then I was introduced to this world of selling and pitching and, just like you see on TV, like with the little microphone and just like learning a demonstration and pitching the demonstration. And I realized that, they were asking me, hey, would you want to do a show with us and a fair with us? And I was like, no, I have to go back to school, right? It's time. Anyways, I was amazed by the wealth of the States. I was mesmerized by I mean, just the freeways and the cities and the
Mhm.
structure, the system, the vehicles. I mean, just everything about it, about this country. It was so magical. And I thought, well, if I can have a chance at it, I will take it.
Mm. So from Mexico to United States and English, you wanted to be English teacher, but became infomercial pitcher, because which you just told me, it sounds like infomercials.
That's right. I can do that in my sleep. I can sell anything in my sleep. And I met my husband. I was selling pruning tools at the
Mm.
Texas State Fair. And my husband has a beef jerky company. And we did, we were doing Google Eye to each other. And
Googly eyes.
yeah. And then a year later we got married and we combined forces. I had the experience on the fairs and festivals, and he had a great product and he had the background on, he knew how to do all the paperwork and applications and things like that. So we joined forces and we grew that company, and we start, yeah, he's really good at hiring people. Anyway, so he's got a team now. And during COVID, when COVID happened, that's when we really thought, oh,
Mm.
there is a problem here. We only have one stream of income, and we thought we were in charge of our income.
Mhm.
We thought it was up to us how much we want to work, how much we want to make. But at that point, we realized that we were absolutely dependent on the shows and the festivals. Like there is no shows. It doesn't matter how much we want to work. We cannot go to a fair, to an empty fair. I mean, we will be trespassing and we will get in trouble. So definitely not. But yeah, so we were like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do?
So you just answered why real estate, extra income. And how did your journey with real estate started?
Yeah, before COVID started, before COVID hit, we were driving throughout the whole United States, throughout America. We just went everywhere from New York to Washington State, from California to Florida, and everything in between. And when you are doing all these road trips, and we did it for years, we will call mom and his mom and grandma and listen to music. But there's a point 2-3 hours down the road that literally you're like, okay, we need a little bit of brain stimulation. So we will listen to audiobooks, great audiobooks on the road that will give us all kinds of topics to chat about. But then once we were done with the audiobook, we started listening to podcasts. And we both have an interest for real estate. So we started listening to real estate podcasts. And just like many of our friends, one time we were listening to Bigger Pockets and they interviewed Jake and Gino.
Oh.
Jake and Gino have an education program for multifamily. And absolutely fell in love with Gino's message of anybody can do it if they put in the time and the effort and they are disciplined enough to follow through. And I was like, he sounds great. He sounds very inspiring, but I don't know what the heck he's talking about with multifamily. Honestly, I thought multifamily meant he had multiple families. And I was beside myself. I was like, how can he be telling us that? I mean, how can he be like screaming it out to the world that he's got multiple families? How can that make him any money? Anyways, so I knew I was missing something in translation. So I kind of went to see what they were all about. And it took me about 2 weeks, 3 weeks to understand that multifamily meant apartment complexes, like multiple families live in this building. That is a multifamily building.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I get it. And by then I was already really digging their
Education platform.
yeah, I was really liking their message.
Mm.
I was really getting to understand their personality. It was entertaining,
Mhm.
and at the same time, it was brain stimulating. And
Mhm.
at that point, I honestly didn't think I could ever get into this space. To me, it was just inspiring and entertaining enough that I would just listen to them when I went for a walk, or when we were driving around with my husband. And we just kind of enjoyed them. And that was it. That was all we thought about them. But when COVID hit and we were getting a little bit bored, I mean, it's been a few months. We haven't worked. We're okay. We didn't have any debt. Thank God we were debt free. And we had a little bit of money put away, not much, but we were like, you know what? Why don't we join Jake and Gino and see what it's all about? And if I may, Lydia, just before COVID, we
Mhm.
actually joined another group. It's
That's what I was
called,
gonna talk
yeah,
about.
yeah.
That's what I was gonna talk about just now. So you actually took okay.
So so because this program is very much about multifamily, I kind of just skipped over, or I didn't even touch on the other group that we joined just before COVID, and that was a land acquisition
Mhm.
program, coaching program that taught us how to recognize raw land that has the possibility for development
Mhm.
and to put it under contract and get it through all the entitlements, all the engineering studies, feasibility, environmental, engineering, drawing, approvals, all of that, working with the county or the city and the engineers and the owner, and then at developing that piece of land and then selling it to a builder. Anyways, the reason why I didn't work on that during COVID is because the government offices were closed. So even though I was trying to do it, it was jumping through hoops
Mhm.
to get to the right planner so this is in my mind it was like a really big different industry that I barely understood,
Mhm.
and I was kind of just making my way into it, and then at the same time all the government offices were closed, and so it was just very tricky to get through it. And that's why I kind of parked it for a little bit and we went into multifamily, and that was really good because the multifamily, it's a community that really helps people stretch their brains, their minds, their vision. And that's where Lydia and I met, actually.
Yeah, that's where we met. That's how our story started. Yeah, Mina, I you don't talk a lot about your land development acquisition. And that's why I wanted to kind of talk today about it because listeners needs to know that Mina, she's so kind, she's so warm, and she's so friendly that a lot of people think that she's just, cute little Mina, but I call her Ninja Mina. That's my nickname for her because she knows a lot. She just doesn't share with you, just folks.
Yeah, I don't want to bore everybody, but yes, I do spend my days Monday through Friday, maybe 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., having a little hour break here and there during lunchtime. And I really dig into the county's GIS map, and
Mm-hmm.
I study where is the zoning, the future land
Mm-hmm.
use for development, and then I handpick those parcels, and then I put them in a CRM, and then I skip trace who owns those parcels. And once I have that information, I go on a journey of contacting the owners, which is very tricky to do because it's hard. Sometimes it's really hard to find who owns what. So I go into this journey of contacting them, sending them an email, sending them a mail, postcard or something, just trying to get in touch with them to see if they will be interested to sell. And once they say, yes, I want to talk to you about it, then it's letting them understand what is the value of that piece of land. Because in their mind, they might think, oh, every acre is worth 100,000. Well, that's great. You think like that. But in reality is if the house that we're going to build on it is only worth 400,000, and of that 100,000 is going for land, and then 100,000 or 150,000 is going for the building itself, and then another 50 or 100,000 is going for the permitting and all of that. And then, so then there is not enough money for the builders, the developers, and everybody else. So everybody needs to make a little bit of money in order to do. I mean, it is our job, right? So say, oh, glad you want to get that much, but in reality, your piece of land might only be worth this much. So educating the landowner on what can they get for their piece of land, it takes some time. And then educating them that, hey, I don't have millions of dollars just to put out there on land. So you have to give me a little bit of time to work on all the permitting. That way I can pay you what we say is worth. Because if in the middle of the whole project, we realize that half of it is wetlands and you can't really build on it. You were thinking to build 100 houses, but you can only build 50. Well, that price changes. It's just how it is.
Mina, you are so passionate about this land. I'm listening to you and I could see how that passion just spilling out from you about the land acquisition and filling the needs of people and putting people into houses. It starts with land. So my question to you is, where are you doing this?
I'm doing this in Florida. When I first started, which was in last year, 2022, in February, well, February, no, actually March. So it's been 1 year exactly. I look at I said, I'm going to do Florida, right? And I was looking at home map, and then I started working in Florida, and then I was like, oh, that is too big. Okay. I'm going to do everything through, near I-4 from Tampa all the way to Daytona. And that was still too big. I said, okay, I'm going to do from Orlando to Tampa. And but that's still too big. So right now I'm actually focusing most of my time in Hillsborough County, which is where Tampa City is, and city of Tampa is. And that's where I'm working. But I expect to grow, just kind of grow gradually, a little north and a little south and a little east.
That's a good area to be in. Tampa, it's, Alex Copolonga told us Tampa reminded him of New York many years ago, 50 years ago. So Tampa would be definitely upcoming new city, metro city with a lot of development. So that's very interesting. So why did you choose that?
My husband really likes the beach. So we sold our house in Texas and we came to live here in Florida, and we live in St. Pete, Florida, which is very close to Tampa. And it was perfect. It was a perfect location because people are still today moving in. We still have records of, I think we're around 900 people that moves into the state every day, and everybody needs a house. The housing pricing was crazy, to say the least. It was stupid, really. I mean, people were just paying so much money for little old houses because there was desperation. So the demand was really high. Now things are calming down a little bit, but the demand is still there. So Florida hasn't been, people missed Florida. People will think of Florida like their retirement home. But now we are growing into a Florida of everyday working Americans that come and live and want to create communities. And there is that demand for housing, and it's a very attractive state. Our politics, our business friendly, business oriented, our people. It's just a melting pot of people from everywhere. It's a very attractive place. So I definitely know that I am in the right place at the right time. I'm not here too early and I'm not here too late. This is where things are happening and continue to happen.
That's right, Mina. I love hearing you talk, what you do. It's a lot of passion. So one of the things that when you start working with land acquisition, contacting the county, contacting all the officials, what did you learn?
I learned that I'm not that special. I learned that at first, I was very shy. I would create these elaborate questions and elaborate emails, about that parcel because I really wanted it to be good. And I realized that these planners and these folks that work at the jurisdiction, they are there for you. They are there to serve their people. So I say, hi, I'm Mina and I'm in land acquisition and I have a question about this parcel. Will you please tell me everything? And they will give me the same response as the emails that I used to do. Hi, how are you? And I hope you're doing okay. And thank you for doing what you do. And, whatever. They probably be so annoyed.
Yeah, so simplicity works. That's what you learn. That being
Yes.
simple, humble, approaching them. They, what I know about cities and counties, they actually want to work with people. They want to collaborate. So is that been your experience?
Yeah, and the reason is because they already have a plan for the
Okay.
city and the county. They already know where they want to see the buildings and they already know where they want to keep green and they already making policies and they've been doing that for decades. It's not a couple years ago somebody said, let's keep this green. No, they've been working on that. And it's been different teams, different people, different generations coming in saying, yes, we want to keep this green. Yes, we want to keep this virgin. Yes, we want to keep them. Yes, we want to see the building going on that direction because that's where we have the least amount of natural treasures, right? So when we approach those jurisdictions, they are happy to tell you that's a no-go. That's an uphill battle. Why? Because if you insist on it and decide to spend time and money, they are going to have to fight you back. So if they don't have to fight you back from the beginning, they will tell you, no, don't do that one. That doesn't look good. And then you'll be like, okay, fine. I just go this way then.
So that's about development. So all the people that listening and want to start a project, some kind of development project, check with your officials and see if this is the direction they want to go. If they don't, why you doing that? It's going to be a battle and it's going to be a fight. You might get it, but just how much time and energy are you going to waste on this?
Absolutely. Yeah, if anybody has a piece of land that they want me to look at, I'd be happy to do so. I mean, I look at deals all day long. What is one more?
So you mentioned any land. Can you describe the land size that you're looking at? Because people are going to call you with any size. So you need to be very specific here, Mina.
Right. So my buying, what do we call it? My
By criteria.
It's at least 10 acres and it has to be either zone or future land use for residential, at least one house per acre, residential one. Now, what I was saying though is that if you all the way up to 100, 200 acres, totally fine. But I don't do in-field lots. Sometimes you find little pieces of dirt in between houses and those are in-field lots. I don't do those because there is plenty of people that do those. But I was saying that if anybody wants to connect with me and have questions about this, feel free to contact me. We can definitely take a few minutes to chat about it.
By the way, please take her offer because she's very open. She will share all the wealth of knowledge that she has. So, and she knows what she's doing. I've seen her at work.
And Lydia, if that's okay with you, so both industries, the land acquisition and the multifamily are pretty heavy, intense, right? Cognitively and in task and systematic, intense businesses. That's why on the multifamily, because I decided to go for the land and that's what takes a lot of my day. when I go into the multifamily, I don't really want to operate, or I don't really want to spend a whole lot of my day looking for properties and, that kind of asset management for multifamily. That's why the capital raising came super natural to me. I've been on sales my whole life. I've been a pitchman my whole life. I get bored doing the land acquisition for 8-10 hours a day. That's why the capital raising, which is very much relationships with the investors, relationship with people that at some point may want to be involved in buying some multifamily with us, through us. And that's why, this podcast and the branding and all of that stuff.
So you just answered many questions that I was going to ask you. Why multifamily? I don't think you kind of touched that much because it's related to land, or what's the other reason why multifamily?
Honestly, multifamily is a place to put some money. So if I make some money in land acquisition, I want to put it somewhere. I learned last year the hard way not to put it in crypto or on fancy new investment things that just come our way, right? It has to be more solid than that. It has to have some kind of something behind it, right? So multifamily is real estate, but in a more efficient way. And the other thing is, because the projects are so big, I don't have to do everything. Nobody expects one person to do it all.
Correct.
It's a team work based business.
Yeah.
And money is necessary in order to acquire the multifamily buildings, right? So somebody will need somebody to raise money for them or help them raise capital. Well, that's what I can do in a very natural way. But in the long term, the idea is to be able to get money from land acquisition and put it in multifamily buildings, because that gives me cash flow, and it also increases the equity or the amount. So if I put in 100,000 in 3-5 years, that might be worth 200,000. And I just don't know any other place where you can be that secure and that will have that availability to be able to create that. And it's just through customer service and everything we talk about here. So it's nothing fancy. It's just the basics of basics, the basics of economics. And without getting, when you invest in the stock market, well, that's great. But we know that there is a lot of just hidden actions going on behind the scenes that we don't get to even peek at. And so in this case, it's totally different. It's very transparent. It's very obvious. It really matches my personality.
That's right. And we are matchmakers for real estate investments for multifamily, because we know a lot of operators that we can connect you with for whatever your goal is in this business. So Mina, thank you so much for sharing who you are, what you do, and your journey to the multifamily and land acquisition. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And anyone that looking to acquire land or do anything with land or have piece of property to sell, please contact Mina. Or if you want to team up with us with a couple of our, partners that we have in multifamily business, please contact us, because we have Rolodex network of team that we can connect you with.
And this is funny because we said 10 minutes. Look at this. This went
I
over
knew,
30 minutes.
Mina, if I'm going to touch land acquisition, everything just naturally going to come out of you, and we're going to get to our full podcast.
That's
and
awesome.
You were so worried about because you were not prepared. Speak from the heart. Your heart spoke land development and land acquisition.
That's right. That's right. And love to talk more about it, share with you guys. Thank you again for another episode, for tuning in, for staying with us, keeping up with us. We love you. We also bless you, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.